When Melissa told me she was going on a girls' weekend trip to the mountains, I didn't question it. We'd been together for almost 5 years, and although things weren't always perfect, I thought our bond was unbreakable. She even packed her bags in front of me, laughing about how she needed a break from work stress. The first night she was gone, I got a little bored. I decided to scroll through Instagram, and that's when I saw something odd. Her best friend, the one she claimed was traveling with her, posted a story from her own apartment. Not the mountains. Not even close. My stomach sank. I told myself there must be a logical explanation, maybe a last-minute change. But deep down, I knew something was off. The next morning, I called Melissa. She didn't pick up. Hours later, she texted, "Sorry, bad signal here. Having fun, miss you." That bad signal excuse might have worked if she hadn't sent it with perfect Wi-Fi formatting and emojis. I couldn't shake the feeling, so I did something I never thought I would. I tracked her phone using our shared family app. And there it was, her location wasn't anywhere near the mountains. It was at a luxury beach resort, 2 hours away. I drove down there, heart pounding the whole way. When I arrived, I spotted her car in the parking lot. I told myself maybe she came to surprise me, maybe there was a reason. But when I walked into the lobby, I saw her. She wasn't alone. She was with a man, wearing the sundress I bought her for our anniversary, holding his hand like they had been together forever. I froze. She didn't even see me. They walked right past, laughing, completely lost in their own world. That's when I realized, she hadn't gone on a girls' trip. She'd gone on a secret getaway with him. I didn't confront her right away. I wanted her to tell me herself. When she came home 2 days later, she kissed me like nothing had happened. That's when I asked, "So, how were the mountains?" She smiled and started describing fake hikes and bonfires that never existed. I let her finish the whole lie before I showed her the screenshots of her location and the pictures I took at the resort. Her face went pale. No excuses, no words. Just silence. And in that silence, I understood everything. The woman I thought I'd spend my life with had already chosen someone else. I remember that evening like it happened yesterday. We were sitting together on the couch, the TV buzzing faintly in the background, but she wasn't really there with me. Her phone was glued to her hands, her fingers flying across the screen, and every so often, a smile would spread across her face. Not the kind of smile she used to give me, no, this one was different. Softer. Warmer. Alive. I asked her who she was texting. She laughed lightly and said it was just a friend from work, that they were talking about silly stuff. But something inside me twisted. That laugh didn't sound right. That smile wasn't mine anymore. A few days later, I started noticing other things. She suddenly developed a new habit, late-night runs. She had never been the type to jog, especially not after dark. And yet, she'd leave the house with her sneakers on, returning an hour later flushed, but not tired. She didn't look like someone who had been running. She looked like someone who had been lit up from the inside. And then there was the scent. Not sweat. Not deodorant. Perfume. But not hers. That night, I decided to follow her. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought it might give me away. She didn't run. She walked down the street, turned the corner, and got into a car that was waiting for her. My chest felt like it caved in. I stood frozen in the shadows as I saw him, some man I didn't recognize, leaning across the seat to kiss her. And she kissed him back like she had once kissed me. In that moment, my world shattered. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even scream. I just stood there, my whole life crumbling in silence. I went home before she did. I sat in the dark, waiting. She walked in an hour later with fake exhaustion painted across her face, ready to feed me more lies about her jog. When I told her I knew, she froze. For a second, I saw panic in her eyes. Then came the excuses, the half-truths, the desperate stories. But nothing mattered anymore. Because betrayal isn't just about what someone does with their body. It's about the trust they burn to ashes. And once that trust is gone, there's nothing left to save. It happened on a Friday evening, just after I got home from work. Normally, when I walked through the door, she'd at least acknowledge me, even if she was busy. But that night, she didn't even look up from her phone. She was sitting at the kitchen table, smiling at the screen in a way I hadn't seen in a long time, not since the early days of our relationship. I set my keys down and watched her. That smile was different. It wasn't casual, it wasn't polite. It was the kind of smile you give when someone makes you feel alive. I asked what was so funny. She jumped, shoved her phone face down on the table, and said it was just a meme a friend had sent. I wanted to believe her, but something inside me twisted. Later that night, while she was in the shower, her phone buzzed again. Against every moral instinct, I picked it up. The notification made my blood run cold. Can't stop thinking about you. Last night felt unreal. My knees nearly gave out. My wife, the woman I trusted with my life, had just been caught. When she came out, I confronted her. At first she screamed at me for touching her phone, tried to flip the blame, but when I read the message aloud, her face collapsed. She sat on the bed and whispered that she was sorry, that it was a mistake, that it didn't mean anything. But her eyes betrayed her, she had been living a double life. The next days were hell. She cried, begged, and promised it was over. She said she still loved me, that she just felt lost and made a stupid choice. I wanted so badly to believe her, to erase what I saw. But then came the second blow. A week later, I found another message, this time hidden deep in her email. He doesn't suspect anything. I can't wait to see you again. That broke me completely. She wasn't just unfaithful, she was planning, lying, weaving an entire story to keep me blind. I realized that if I stayed, I'd always wonder, always doubt. The woman I thought I knew was gone. The day I left, I didn't slam the door. I didn't shout. I just walked out quietly, carrying the weight of every broken promise. Because sometimes, silence hurts more than words, and betrayal cuts deepest when it's hidden behind a smile. It was late on a Sunday when everything finally came crashing down. For weeks, I'd been telling myself that my wife's behavior was just stress from work, that her coldness and distance weren't signs of anything deeper. But that night, I couldn't ignore it anymore. She was sitting on the couch, glued to her phone, smiling in a way she hadn't smiled at me in months. I asked her who she was talking to, and she brushed it off, saying it was just a coworker. But something in her eyes told me that wasn't true. When she went to take a shower, she left her phone face down on the table. My hand shook as I picked it up, battling with myself about whether I should look. Curiosity and fear won. The screen lit up with a message, "Last night was amazing. Can't wait to see you again." My heart dropped. My stomach turned. Every doubt I had tried to bury suddenly roared back, undeniable and sharp. When she came back, wrapped in a towel, I was still holding her phone. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just asked, "Who is he?" Her face froze. That silence between us was the loudest sound I had ever heard. She tried to lie at first, stumbling through excuses, but eventually the truth spilled out. There was someone else. It had been going on for months. And the worst part wasn't just that she had betrayed me, it was how easily she had looked me in the eye and pretended nothing was wrong. The next morning, I packed my things. As I zipped up the bag, she begged me to stay, crying, swearing it was a mistake. But mistakes don't last for months. Mistakes don't send messages about last night while your husband sits in the same room. Walking out the door, I felt hollow. My whole world had been built on a lie, and I realized I had to start over. Betrayal isn't just about losing someone you love, it's about losing the person you thought they were. And sometimes, that loss hurts more than anything else. I still remember the day I realized my life had quietly turned into a nightmare. For months, I had noticed little things about Julia that didn't add up, the way she suddenly guarded her phone, how she laughed at messages she never explained, and how she seemed distant even when she was right next to me. I told myself I was paranoid, that I was imagining things. But deep down, something felt wrong. One Friday, she told me she was going to have a girls' night out. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? But later that evening, while scrolling through social media, I saw her best friend posting stories from her house, board games, snacks, and drinks. Julia wasn't there. My chest tightened. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I decided to call her. She didn't pick up. Instead, she texted me a minute later, "Can't talk, too loud here. Love you." That was the moment I knew she was lying. The next week, I came home early from work. Julia wasn't expecting me. When I walked into the driveway, I saw an unfamiliar car parked outside. My heart started racing. I stepped quietly inside the house, and the sound of laughter echoed from the living room. I froze. The laughter wasn't mine, and the way she laughed with him, I had never heard her sound like that with me. I wanted to storm in, to confront them right then and there, but I didn't. I stood in the hallway, listening to them. I felt my hands shaking, my vision blurring with anger and heartbreak. After a few minutes, I walked out as silently as I had entered. They never knew I was there. For the next few days, I acted normal. I smiled, I kissed her, I asked her how her day was. But inside, I was broken. Every touch felt fake, every word from her lips felt poisoned. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. One night at dinner, I asked her straight, "Is there someone else?" She froze, her fork clattering onto the plate. Her face turned pale. For a long time, she said nothing. And in that silence, I already had my answer. When she finally spoke, it was a flood of excuses. She said she felt lonely, that she needed attention, that it didn't mean anything. But how could it not mean anything when she gave to him the parts of herself she once gave to me? That night, I packed a bag and left. I didn't scream, I didn't cry in front of her. I just walked out, because sometimes silence is louder than any words. The truth is, betrayal doesn't just break your heart. It changes the way you see love, trust, and yourself. And once you've seen the truth, you can never unsee it. I remember the night everything changed so clearly. Sarah had been acting strange for weeks, but I kept brushing it off. We'd been together for almost 7 years, and I trusted her completely. She was my best friend, the person I thought I would marry. One evening she told me she was staying late at work to finish an important project. Nothing unusual, she was always dedicated to her job. But later that night, I got a call from a coworker of hers. He was drunk and accidentally let it slip. "Man, Sarah left hours ago with that guy from accounting." My stomach dropped. I didn't want to believe it, but the seed of doubt was planted. I waited up for her, and when she walked in around midnight, she smelled like cologne that definitely wasn't mine. I asked her how work went. She smiled, kissed me on the cheek, and told me about fake meetings that never happened. The next day, I followed her after she went to work. My heart was pounding in my chest the entire drive. She didn't head to the office. Instead, she parked at a cafe on the other side of town. I watched her step out of the car, looking nervous, checking her phone. A few minutes later, he showed up, the same guy from accounting. They hugged. Not just a friendly hug, but the kind of embrace that says, "I've missed you." I couldn't breathe. I felt like my entire world was collapsing right there in that parking lot. I didn't confront her then. I sat in my car for hours, trying to convince myself that maybe I had misunderstood. But the next week, it happened again. Different place, same man. Finally, I decided to set a trap. I told her I had to go out of town for a few days, a work trip. She kissed me goodbye, told me to be safe, and as soon as I was gone, she texted him. I had set up a camera in the living room, hidden where she wouldn't notice. That night, I watched the footage in real time from my hotel. She brought him into our home. Onto the couch where we used to watch movies. Into the kitchen where we had breakfast together. The betrayal cut deeper than anything I've ever felt. When I came back, she acted like nothing happened. She asked me about my trip, smiled at me, hugged me. That's when I told her to sit down. I showed her the footage. I watched her face go from confident to pale as she realized the truth was right there on the screen. She didn't even try to deny it. Just silence. Tears. Excuses about being confused, about needing attention. But the damage was done. That night, I realized something important: love can blind you, but betrayal opens your eyes in the harshest way possible.